You are listening to the Savage FINcast, episode 28. First FINcast in a bold new direction.
Chicago. A criminal mastermind called Overlord held our city in his terrifying grip. Ordinary cops were losing the battle against Overlord's super freaks and mutants. Then, a miracle happened. When I found him, he had no memory of his past. I helped him find an identity and a life. Now we have a fighting chance. Now we have the dragon.
This is the Savage FINcast, the show that is fashionably late. I am Jim Purcell.
I'm Craig Olson.
And with you, as often, Raven Perez.
Yes, often.
Not always.
Not always.
But often.
Often on.
But always a pleasure.
Always.
Well, thank you.
Before we get into it this episode, Raven, you been up to anything interesting lately?
Oh, Lord, my life. It's been a whirlwind of activity. I can't say that I've had too much exciting comic reading going on, but I pretty much put the nail in the coffin of my Kickstarter like on March 7th. So there's like the only things left to go are like maybe two or three dudes, and like some close friends. So super exciting for me because it's kind of like a let out of jail time. Yeah. So that's been my hugest news.
Speaking of comic Kickstarter, did you hear about that guy who got funding to like get his book printed, but he wound up messing up his shipping costs, and so he couldn't afford to ship out the other books. So he started burning the copies when people are asking about them.
That seemed like he just had like a nervous breakdown and freaked out. Because did you see what he like wrote? And he was just like, "Stop! Every time someone bothers me, I'm burning more issues or something." Yeah. I was like, "Holy crap!" Yeah.
That got old Raven hot and bothered. I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually posted about it. I won't go in any giganto rant, but like his and my situations were ridiculously similar. We both did.
You miscalculated your shipping cost as well, right?
That's exactly what happened. It was even with a quarter. It right down to he did 2,000 books. I did 2,000 books. I fell short on my shipping with a quarter of the backers to go. He fell short on his shipping with a quarter of his backers to go. The key difference is that he got like $51K in 14 days, and I did like $14K. So I don't know what happened to his money, because I guess his book was black and white.
Yeah.
So I'm not understanding what's up, but like Craig said, it was mostly if I've launched in this angry thing, then I'm instantly kind of felt bad because like he apparently is not 100% like mentally healthy. Yeah. Like he's in a bad place apparently. I'm still angry when I watched the video and there is at least 2 people there when those books are burning.
Huh.
And that means that, yeah, he might not be well, but someone else was there. Whoever his friends were should have stopped him from burning those books.
Yeah.
Because the poor backers, I read all the comments. Some of his fans actually were still really supportive, but there were a lot of people that were just saying these things. When you do this Kickstarter, people are giving you their money, and they're just as hard up for money as you are. And like, when I read the comment when somebody was like, $50 is a lot of money for me, that's groceries, that's cat food, I really feel like hurt by you doing this. It's just awful.
Yeah.
Whatever he's going through, someone near him should have jumped in and been like, okay, you can take down your webcomic. You can say that you're not shipping anymore, but dude, we can't destroy these books, and we should try to one day get these books to these people.
Yeah.
Yeah, his responses were just so like out there. It was just so like, oh my, this guy is like, he's not in touch with the reality. Something's going on with his mental health.
A friend of mine told me that it had been kind of evident through the comic, or the webcomic, that like things have been going downhill for him a little bit. So there's more to it than that. But God,
But you were the first one I thought of when I heard about the story.
Dude, when I read it, I normally like don't pipe up or say anything about anything because everybody's stories. I felt like a dick. Like one of his like I guess friends or something immediately posted and was like, "Well, you don't know the whole story, and it is very very bad." And I was like, "Yeah, but whatever the situation." Everyone else is on the other side of that having their individual situations.
Right.
And dude, that stinks. Like whatever he's going through, if he didn't have his full like mental facilities, like I said, there were 2 people in the video he uploaded where he was burning. That means he had company when he was burning those books. Somebody should have stopped him because he's gonna hopefully get better and he's gonna regret burning those books.
Yep.
So for the listeners, do you remember where they can read more about that? I think Bleeding Cool had an article about it, but what was the Kickstarter?
I believe the webcomic's called Pictures of Sad Children.
Something along those lines, yeah.
I forget the guy's name.
It's a pretty crazy story, but...
Yeah, man. Well, it's funny that you brought that up. I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, that flipped my lid. When I saw that, I kind of like hit the roof, then hit the keyboard.
So Jim, what have you been up to?
Well, I've been trying to relearn how to program. I've been playing around with this. I want to make video games someday, so I've been playing around with the. It's called Unity. It's a graphical development tool set. So I've been relearning how to C# programming language.
Nice.
Yeah. So now I can make a ball move around on top of a block.
That's how it starts.
So yeah, I've been doing that. Been basically just crash coursing on that in all of my free time. Other than that, been thrifting around for old video games. I wound up with a whole pile of new DS stuff.
There's a lot of good stuff to love there, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of... See, I'm not a big JRPG fan, but I've suddenly come into a lot of them.
What's that? I'm an idiot when it comes to video games.
Japanese RPGs, JRPGs.
Okay.
You have your Western RPGs, which is your Skyrims and your
Dungeons and Dragons type stuff.
And then you have your JRPGs, which is your Final Fantasies and your Dragon Quests and your Shin Megami Tensei, which I enjoy. Actually,
God bless you.
Raven, have you ever played any of the Persona games?
I'm not Persona ignorant. I've played the Persona fighting game.
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
I've just not played the role-playing game because I don't have a lot of time.
A lot of people are going to hate me, but I've been playing Persona 3, and I've not been enjoying it very much.
That would be like saying you hate Jack Kirby.
Apparently. But I am playing Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked for 3DS, and I'm liking that game a lot. It's made by the same people. Same company.
I feel like I'm just listening to you talk Japanese right now.
These are very popular series.
It's funny. It's a very popular series in Japan. It's a bit niche here in America, but there are a lot of games. They're made by a company called Atlas, which is like they are a big company, but they're also not the most well-known company. They're very interesting to collect for. Is all. They have a lot of interesting games that are outside.
They're some of the last companies in the West to really care about, like in gaming in general, almost everything is so Western these days that even Japanese developers have started making Western games, like Western style.
Like Dark Souls.
Like they don't exactly. You would never know Dark Souls, which is a game that's like dragons and knights and all. You'd never know it had a, Eastern development team because it is so Western in every way, like its aesthetic and stuff.
Yep.
So at a company like Atlas, it's really cool if you like, Japanese flavor, which what's so funny is that's where gaming started because there were no American developers really.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, as a Nintendo fanboy, all of my favorite characters are Japanese.
Yeah. So everything went from bright and colorful and Japanese to super gray and brown and Western.
All the brown.
Do you know how retarded I am with video games?
I actually don't.
I have never played a game online. I've never played against anyone. Like, I don't even know how to do it. Like, I've never wore like a headset or whatever.
Do you not own any consoles or anything?
I have a PS2.
Good for you. That was a good system.
Yeah, not the worst
You're
one to
a
have.
gamer. You're a good game. The system rocked.
I could play Metal Gear, but then I would like not play it for like, I don't know, a month, and then just forget the controls, and then just not be interested in playing again.
I get that experience a lot too. I have a ton of half-finished games, which is my big problem right now.
I feel that much closer to you, my brother. Metal Gear. That's a fantastic series. That's awesome.
Also Japanese.
It was fun.
Extremely Japanese.
What about you, Craig? Anything fantastic happening in your life?
Just chasing after 2 kids, but in my spare time, I'm knee deep in Jack Kirby collections. My comic book shop had a sale a while back. I think I talked about it in the last episode. I got some cheap omnibuys, Fantastic Four Volume 2, which actually I got from Amazon because they reprinted it, but I got an Avengers omnibuy pretty cheap. And
what's that, 50 issues?
No, I don't know. 25? Is it 25 maybe? I think.
That probably makes more
sense. It's huge. I mean, it's really, really thick.
That second one had the coming of Galactus story?
Yeah, it's a great series. I mean, just Joe Sinnott inks and Jack Kirby pencils. It's a match made in heaven. So that, and I collect the Simon and Kirby library of books, which kind of come out every 6 months or every year. And
those ones are from.
They're horror.
Are they from IDW?
No.
Someone does Treasury editions. I don't know who.
I can't remember who actually puts that out. I don't got it in front of me, but
yeah.
It's a whole series of Simon and Kirby stuff. They did like sci-fi, crime, superheroes.
This is their non-Marvel stuff. This is their pre-Marvel.
It's all their Golden Age type stuff.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the horror stuff is really cool because it's all like pre-comics code stuff and
right.
creepy and stuff like that.
So you're gonna see a wife's head severed in her husband's hand, hatchet in the other one.
Yeah, like that famous cover,
like the EC cover.
Yeah, but it's fun. I'm actually Erik Larsen, to tie us all into this podcast, is the one that really got me into Kirby because I grew up, on late 80s comics and 90s comics and grew up on guys that were influenced by Kirby, but not, influenced. Like, I wasn't into Kirby, didn't even know who he was, just knew he was like some old guy and with blocky art and really wasn't that into it. And then just kind of got more and more into it. And now I can't imagine not reading Jack Kirby comics.
I love that description. Because that is the at-the-glance impression.
Well, yeah, as a young kid, it was like, ugh, what is this garbage? And now it's like, oh my god, this stuff's so amazing.
I'm not sure.
I went through the same thing.
I'm not sure if I ever formulated an opinion about him when I was younger. It's funny. He was just kind of, his art was all over the place, and I was aware of it, but I wasn't really aware of him. So it was more of an adult or late teen. I was more aware of that stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just a switch flipped on me, and it was like I fell in love with this stuff. So, and that's about it. I mean, I got a lot of things going on, but I don't want to bore everybody. Why don't we get into the Erik Larsen news?
Sounds like a good idea.
Can I throw one last thing out?
Yeah,
go ahead. So quick. So my comic store had a free graphic novel day.
Oh boy!
And you can imagine the quality of the free graphic novels they're giving away.
All the Valiant comics.
Like, so much so that when he asks, as I'm leaving with my Walking Dead and previews, do you want a free graphic novel? And I looked at him and said no. And then he goes, are you sure? We got Justin Bieber.
What?
And exactly. That is exactly. I said, are you serious? I said, sold. So I ran over on the other side. And here is this, Blue Water?
Yes,
the
I know.
Yeah, they always put out like those like
horrible autobiographical
biography
comics.
Books. Yeah.
Like
Sarah Palin, the comic.
Condoleezza Rice comic, you can get one. Yeah.
Oh, it's such garbage.
So this is the Justin Bieber version, and it's from Blue Water, and you need this in your life.
What?
It's amazing. I mean, I've never seen a product that it's so evident that everyone involved was like, they didn't give a crap, and they were just doing it for as cheap and as quick as they could. And there was really bizarre like visual choices. Like I see this picture of him next. None of the likenesses match.
Right.
Like there's this picture of him next to Kesha, and she looks like a zombie. There's this picture.
Was it like done straight, or was it? It's like
it's totally like serious. It's called Justin Bieber Fame, and the cover artist looks kind of like he's doing a Jay Lee thing.
Ugh.
And when you,
I mean, I like Jay Lee,
Okay.
but Jay Lee on Justin Bieber comic.
we're gonna have
Yeah.
words, Craig.
but like it makes me laugh. But dudes, I'm just saying I'm done. I'm just gonna wrap it up. If you get a chance, if you enjoy a comic that
So bad.
Is garbage.
it's so bad, yeah, exactly, so bad NASCAR style, it like curves around and it looks like it's in lead. This is your comic.
I
Justin
feel like you
Bieber.
could say that about every one of those,
All the blue
what is it
water,
called? Blue water. Yeah, like I see him on the shelf and I'm like, I can't believe my comic retailer buys.
You gotta
this.
wonder
And
who they're for.
They apparently do really well. Because my comic guy and me were really good friends. The old one, old store I used to shop at, and I was giving him the same crap, and he said, "These always sell."
It's like probably like the
so
Zenoscope
weird.
books.
Yeah,
So
is that the one with like porno
Yeah.
fairy tale?
Yes.
It's like, what? Stop. Just go watch porno on your internet or something. You know, it's like, do you gotta read about naked Red Riding Hood?
They
Stop.
publish new Francesco artwork.
Well, good for him, I guess.
I just I couldn't not say anything. That is such a find, and I know it's something that you never like seek out on your own. So Raven Man's here to tell you, for the cost of free, it's amazing.
Well, now that we've lost all our listeners, no, I'm just kidding. Let's get into the news.
So, Spawn number 241 is going to have a cover based on a sketch by Erik Larsen. McFarlane recently posted a blurb on Facebook about how the cover of Spawn 241 is based on a quick 4x4, 4-inch by 4-inch Spawn sketch Erik did at a drink and draw event they attended at a comic convention. McFarlane later tightened the drawing and changed some of the things to fit the current Spawn look in the book. So I checked out the Facebook page on that. It does the side-by-side comparison with the original sketch and the final cover, and it looks like an Erik design.
Yeah, he's got the foreshortening, like leaping at you, but I don't think it's a great cover design.
Well,
I feel like McFarlane was like, oh, I don't really know what to draw on the cover this month. Oh, I have that sketch.
Hey, I got this spread.
You know, let me tighten that up and throw it out there. And it's just like, what?
Well, I think it's that because he's like hovering in a void. It's like, right? It's just Spawn in like an empty space.
Yeah.
Well, I picture Larson just scribbling on a napkin at a, this drink and draw event and just, I don't know, not intending it to be anything
Right.
other than just a sketch.
But what's the hell up with Spawn these days? He's looking a bit gray.
I don't know, he's got like
He's
angel
brain.
wings in that picture, isn't he? Like he gave up his cape for wings or something? I don't know.
Yeah, they do look like wings, and he's got kind of like the blue glowy eyes, and yeah, I don't know. I am so clearly out of the loop on Spawn.
I don't want to hate on Spawn or anything like that because I feel like it probably gets the same kind of rap like Savage Dragon. It's been around forever, and people that never read it think they know everything about it. So I'm not going to try to figure out or dump on it, but yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Doesn't Spawn have like a big hoof foot? 1 foot.
Yeah, he's got asymmetrical boots.
Anyway, I don't know. He's
It's
just
just giant cylinder boots.
I was never a fan of McFarlane, so I never was a fan of Spawn.
Yeah, I have no idea what's going on. I give him a lot of credit for having that many issues, and it's pretty cool that it's still going. It still sells halfway decent, I guess.
He's got all the respect in the world for executing his plan, which was to make a character that outlives him Batman style. I think probably Spawn will go on past McFarlane easily.
You think?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look at Michael Turner's company, Aspen.
Oh, that's true.
I mean,
they still make Fathom comics.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, if you want to care, if that's your goal, and I guess that was his goal, I mean, mission accomplished, bro.
The
Spawns
Jim
can outlive you.
Davis of.
Well, it's one of the highest numbered books too when you look at it. Savage Dragon, Spawn, Witchblade, they're all up there with Marvel and DC's have all renumbered. And
isn't it ironic that Image was kind of responsible for everybody lusting after that #1 status, and now Image books are some of the highest numbered books in comics?
Yeah,
it's a valid observation.
Walking Dead, Invincible.
Yeah.
They got almost 5.
Triple digits. What?
Yep.
So, yeah, that's strange. Well, I guess I'm ready to jump on the next little bit of tid. Larsen created a Jack Kirby fan group on Facebook, if you weren't looking. He was pretty sure he was dissatisfied with a Kirby fan group he was in. So he said, hey, I'm going to make my own group. We're going to call it Jack Kirby! ! So Larsen made the Jack Kirby fan group on Facebook. In a single week, it grew to over 1,600 members. It's a great group. Fans and pros alike join to discuss Jack Kirby. So that's got to be cool for any kind of comic fan, let alone a Jack Kirby fan. As we said earlier, you might not even realize that your favorite artist is Jack Kirby influenced. And
yeah.
he probably is.
And there's a whole bunch of artists on there. I know Mike Mignola is been on there. Mark Evanier, who is worked hand in hand with Kirby and probably knows more about Jack Kirby than anybody. I can't think of. There is a whole bunch of guys. I can't think of them all off the top of my head. But even various guys that have inked Kirby in the past show up. I think I saw Tom Scioli lurking on there.
Who did a sweet My Little Pony Jack Kirby recently.
I saw that.
Jack Kirby.
But if you're a fan of Jack Kirby, we should probably post a link to our website so people can find this. You have to get invited in, but all you have to do is request it. And it seems like, Eric it's open to anybody, but you need an invite. And you need to get, I don't know if it's an invite, but you just need to get approved.
Right.
It's just, I guess, to kind of keep all the
riffraff out, the spam bots.
Got to thin out those spam bots.
But it's pretty neat. There's a lot of cool images and a lot of good discussion.
That's awesome. Like I said, if you like comics at all, you owe yourself to look into Jack Kirby a little bit, and this is a really cool way to do it because you get to see a lot of active guys that you do know talking about what makes this kind of a legend in the industry who might not necessarily be anywhere near known as much as he should be. They let you know why he's good, so it's cool.
Right. I'm going to sign up now.
I wanted to add something to the news. We didn't really talk about this beforehand, but I got my copy of Nancy in Hell, A Dragon in Hell, one-shot comic, which I'm not sure the exact street date. I got mine last week, and my shop didn't really carry it. It's from Amigo Comics, so I'm not sure if many shops really,
Are they a European publisher?
I really don't know, to be honest.
My comic guy.
I think it's from Spain. So
when I brought it up, his reaction was, "That's a real thing." So they had no idea. In previews, it was not with Image. It was back with the Amigo section or whatever.
Well, it definitely wasn't with Image because it wasn't published by Image.
I mean, what happened, I guess, is Nancy in Hell was an Image book at one time, and they've kind of moved on. But I think Eric was thinking that it was going to be an Image book when he gave him permission to use Dragon, and they switched over, and he had already given permission. But they did a really good job with it.
You liked it?
Yeah, I did. I remember seeing the previews and reading the kind of the cover copy and being like, what? But it's a regular size comic. It's one issue. It's one and done. It's a whole story in one. You learn a little bit about Nancy from Nancy in Hell, and you learn a little bit about Malcolm. And the main villain is the Fiend. So basically he gets, I'm not going to go into all of it, but somehow he gets brought to hell. Malcolm gets brought to hell, kind of similar to the way his father was. And he comes across the Fiend. And it's a cool way to...
Did they do anything?
What's that?
Did they do anything interesting with the Fiend, or is it implied that it's Dimple?
No, it's implied that it's Debbie Harris's mom.
Oh.
Cool.
Miss Harris. I forget what her name is, but so one of the big things is like, oh, Dragon has a son. You know, why is he allowed to have a son and my daughter's dead because of him?
Oh, okay.
But
nice.
But I mean, again, it's a single regular size issue, so you can't, there's only so much you can do. But they do a good job with the characters, and they kind of behave as they should. Malcolm sounds like Malcolm. The Fiend sounds like the Fiend, and it takes a lot from Savage Dragon lore in terms of it's centralized around the Fiend and the Fiend's plight.
I wasn't planning on.
It's pretty cool.
I wasn't planning on getting a copy, but maybe I'll have to track it down now that it sounds like it's decent.
Yeah, it's decent. You don't need it. It doesn't add anything to Malcolm or Savage Dragon, but it does kind of follow events that have happened in Savage Dragon. So it seems like a book that counts, and it definitely seems like a book that would fit as like a backup in Savage Dragon or something like that. So I was pleasantly surprised. It's worth the $4 if you're a Savage Dragon fan. The art is really decent. There's a lot of awesome detail in hell. It's all little weird demons and stuff.
It doesn't have like a realistic painted style?
No, not really.
Oh, really?
It kind of looks like it might be, but it's not.
Oh.
It's definitely not.
What about extras? Any pinups or backups or anything?
Yeah, there's a few pinups. It's like 2 of them that we haven't seen before.
Cool.
Which are pretty cool.
Mine's on its way, so I'm super excited. That's awesome.
It's not bad. There's one thing. If anyone is a fan of Nancy in Hell and you know what this is, she's got like this purple like tentacle thing that's coming off her forehead, the whole issue. At first, when you look at the preview pages, I thought she just had like a strip of hair that was dyed purple. I'm not sure what the hell it is. I'd like to know. If you guys out there know what it is, write in and let me know. They don't. I guess they expect you already should know what it is by reading the previous books. I think she's had 2 miniseries, but I had no idea what it was. So if you guys know, let us know.
Clearly didn't ruin your enjoyment.
No, it doesn't. Like I said, it's a one and done. It's it was entertaining. I thought it was well worth the $4. So there you go.
Sweet. It's good to hear.
Yeah. So, and not to get long-winded, last thing is, I don't know if you guys saw, but Michel Fife's Copra series is coming back out with another 6 issues. And there was his listserv or whatever he has, his little email list. He sent a notice of like a limited subscription that would guarantee you getting the 6 issues. And I don't know if that's still available. I know you don't have to get a subscription. You can buy the individual issues, but the subscription guarantees that you get a copy. But that's also really cool to hear because I really enjoyed that Copra series. And
oh yeah.
You can find that. I mean, I don't know the link to it right now, but he's selling it on his Etsy page. If you just Google Copra and Michel Fife, then you should be able to find it, or at least find his website.
Yeah.
And get there for that. But that's definitely, if you missed the first round, jump in on the second round. The second story arc. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Well, that's neat. Good for him.
Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So let's get into the trivia.
Yes.
Trivialities.
Last episode, was it last episode? Do we skip an episode with the trivia?
No,
I can't remember. But
it was last episode.
Okay, last episode, episode 26, we had our trivia question was, from 2005 through to 2008, and for a short stint in 2010, Erik Larsen wrote a weekly column for one of the larger comic book news websites. What was the name of the column? And we got a few responses. First was from, and I don't know if I'm saying this right. His name's like Josephat Gomez. Is that the right way to say it?
Sounds right to me.
Okay. He said, "Hey guys, loved the podcast. Never knew anyone who liked Dragon besides myself. Savage Dragon's the only book I get digital and then buy a copy at the store." Anyway, the answer to the trivia. Erik wrote a column, One Fan's Opinion, for Comic Book Resources. I think it was back when he was publisher of Image. Love the Erik interview. Got any more of those Chris G variant to give away? No, we don't. But if I come across one, I think I have to hook Gavin up because I think he still needs it. But Gavin Higginbotham.
Charge him thousands of dollars.
Yeah. But no, we gave that away, and there hasn't been any others that come across my way. Thanks for the kind words on that, though. Will Poe wrote in. He said, if I'm not mistaken, Erik's column was called One Fan's Opinion at comicbookresources.com. And then he went on to say, I enjoyed the year-end review. I'd love to hear y'all review Dragon's original miniseries if we ever find ourselves waiting for another issue. Or maybe talk some fan film casting for the Savage Dragon movie that we all hope and pray will happen one day. Some interesting suggestions.
Good show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
I know who I want for Mako.
Our buddy, and I should go on to say that One Fan's Opinion is the correct answer, which everyone got. Nick Justice, our old buddy, wrote in. He said, hey guys, I finally remember One Fan's Opinion. I wish Erik still did them. I read them religiously on CBR. Looking forward to the new episode of Savage FINcast. Hope to be on again one day if y'all will have me.
We won't. Just going to put that down right now.
Gavin, our buddy Gavin Higginbotham wrote in. He said, One Fan's Opinion. And I wish Erik did more of them. There was a lot of cool stuff in there, and I like the articles that pissed people off. Ha!
Which was a lot of them, I think.
Of course, Gavin cannot win. He's disqualified for being the publisher. But we always love when he does write in, because his answers are always pretty funny. So the trivia winner, I put all the names in a hat and picked out William Poe, who gets his choice of either an Erik Larsen variant edition of Jersey Gods number 5 or the complete 4-issue Star miniseries from 1995. So
nice.
Just send us
sweet loot
email at savagefincast@gmail.com and let us know which you would like, and I will send it to you like 3 months later because I'm such a slacker on these things. And I apologize to the people I owe things to. I have them all packed up and ready to go. I think I have like the last 2 winners stuff sitting on my desk I'm looking at right now.
To be fair,
it's going to go out this week, so don't kill me.
I think I know the reason why you're like months late getting your stuff out is because your wife was 9 months getting her stuff out. You gave her that 9 months ago, and it's only just now coming around. It's like, come on. So
that works for me.
It's all good.
Sure, we'll blame it on my wife.
Exactly.
All right, and for this episode's question, name one of the 2 artists that both passed away before starting the Mighty Man series that they agreed to do for Erik Larsen, which is kind of a downer question, but I thought it was kind of a cool question. It was
Lord, is that real?
Yeah, it was something that was brought up recently, but there were two artists that were signed up to do a Mighty Man series, and they both passed away before they were able to do it.
It's like a Mighty Man curse at this point.
Yeah.
That's creepy.
Yeah, so it's I thought that was a cool question. Let's see if everyone knows, if you know both artists, I'll give you preference to the winner. But I will, if everyone only gets one, then I will give it to the person that. Nah, that's whatever. I'm just gonna put everyone's name in a hat. Screw it. Send your responses to savagefincast@gmail.com, and we will sing your praises on the next episode One winner will be chosen of all the correct entries, and for this episode's question, the winner will get the Flying Colors variant to Savage Dragon 165. So, send in your answers.
So get them in now.
So let's jump into it. This is a huge issue.
It's a bold new direction.
Yeah, I don't think we really even talked about it much in the opening of this episode, but this is something different here.
We were holding it all back.
Yeah,
There's going to be a lot of emotions. I think what's interesting about this discussion too is we're not just giving you our crusty old, been there since the grocery store sold Savage Dragon days opinions. We're giving you new. We went the extra mile to get new reader opinions.
Well, I didn't. I tried. Couldn't find anybody. I feel so bad about it. It's actually, this appears to be one of the downsides of being digital only, is if I was going to a comic shop, I might have actually been able to talk to people.
That's it. Let's just end this podcast.
And we're done.
Yeah. See ya.
Bold new directions, great jumping off point. Have a great evening. Oh, great life. We'll see you on Spawn 194. So, your thoughts, Craig, what do you think on this bold new direction? How'd it grab you?
So, all right. There was when I first picked it up reaction, and then let it sink in and see what everyone else was saying and kind of settle down on it reaction.
Okay.
My first reaction was I wasn't that keen on it.
Okay.
I wanted to pack a bigger punch to draw. I don't know, I just wanted it to be more exciting, or just I don't know how to put it, but it just seemed like a less than spectacular issue. Yes. But it has since grown on me.
All right.
The more I listen to read reviews of what new readers thought, I realize that this issue really isn't for me or longtime readers per se, because we have seen the things that can happen in Savage Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
This is more of a showcase on this is what Malcolm Dragon's about, and here's a quick little thing to show his powers and show where he's coming from. And it's written more for a new reader, which I can appreciate. We just came off an amazing prison arc, which we've seen, it's just the best stuff out of Savage Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I was bound to be a little underwhelmed. But again, I think it's because this issue is not really meant as much for old readers as it is to kind of get new people up to speed on who Malcolm is.
Right.
And I can talk more in detail of the different things I liked and didn't like, but what was your first kind of gut reaction, or your reaction to it?
Well, I don't know. Jim, do you want to jump in there first?
No, you go first, right?
Uh-oh.
Well, I got to tell you. All right. So I'm a man of two minds, too. There was the initial knee-jerk reaction, which, just as you described, it was not really super pleased with it, only because this is not what the book does when it's at its best. When this book is at its best, it's juggling all these things, all these plot points, etc., etc. A huge cast, effortlessly handled. So that was my knee-jerk reaction, is that this book is not putting its best foot forward this issue. I kind of, like you, had a settling down phase where I backed off my oh man, I just don't see this really grabbing a new reader into the series. But I realize that it's kind of impossible for me to get that true new reader thing, because I'm comparing this issue, and I can't help it. I'm comparing this issue to everything I know the book
it's 192 issues before.
Bingo. And I mean, I know what this writer can do. I know when he's, doing the quick panels and when he's really dialing up the quality. And, I just feel like, and the thing that I can't back away from, even though I did settle down, because my more technical opinion of it after the knee jerk went away was that, this is a very, very impressive first issue. There's actually like an ass ton of information in these normal issue size pages, and it really does, from a standpoint of just, does it establish his past? Yes. Does it establish his present? Yes. Does it tell you where he is, kind of why he does what he does? It does all these things, and it does it pretty well. The fight was gory. It lets you know as a reader that, hey, this is a hero who does kill people. He's not got Superman's, oh, I can't kill kind of morality.
Right.
And so all these things are really, really excellent, and it takes a lot of skill to put that much into this single thing. But I cannot back down on my opinion that the issue ended with a thud, not with a bang. It could have very easily had a cliffhanger to draw in readers for a second issue.
Yes.
And so I just can't say.
And it's funny because Erik is the best at doing cliffhangers. And it's like, why wouldn't you do a cliffhanger on the first issue in a bold new direction? You want to bring someone back for a next issue, end on a cliffhanger.
I don't mean to be,
make someone buy your next issue.
I don't mean to be harsh, but the thing is if this was another Image title, not Savage Dragon, not from an Image founding father, and if it was actually a number one, it would almost assuredly end in some way that dragged you into the next issue. I've read a lot of Image number ones of various series, and they almost always have some good hook to drag you into the next issue. I can't think of many that are just sort of like, and we're done.
Yeah. What'd you think, Jim?
Okay. My first opinion, my first impression was, I still don't like this logo very much. But then I turned the page and I went, yes! Purple flannel! I love young Malcolm with skinny arms and the flannel. I don't know why, but it opens on this great flashback that really calls back to that period of Malcolm I really like as a character when he was a lot younger. And actually, the opening flashback itself I felt was a really strong opening because it shows you Dragon in his prime, and it shows Malcolm, when he was younger.
Totally agree.
Still being tough little kid. And then we jump to the present. After that, however, I've got to kind of agree with you guys about some of the pacing and the direction it went in, not being as strong as it could have been. It opens with a bang, but then it just kind of feels like it's a lot of information dumping.
Yeah.
And it is establishing Malcolm's status quo, and I think that's very important. But I felt like when it gets to the fight scene at the end, because you get two decent fight scenes in this issue, which is pretty par for course from Erik. But I felt the second fight scene, because the villain in it, you have no history with it. It doesn't last long, and it doesn't stick around. It's like it doesn't matter. I guess it doesn't.
Yeah,
Malcolm never feels like he's actually
like
in danger, so it's hard to take it seriously.
Well, I think the whole point of the second fight is to kind of really show Malcolm at his adult kind of strength power, and also to show that, display how he could use his electric powers and that he's not afraid to kill.
Yeah.
So I think Erik had to kind of put in a throwaway character that he could just kill. But honestly, he could have just thrown in a vicious circle guy to kill too. But the guy is a cool looking visual. It's almost that tantrum guy.
Oh,
I'm sad to see him
Yeah,
go.
but it wasn't even that. It was like, I don't know. Malcolm basically kills the baby part of Tantrum, because Tantrum,
It was
for the listeners who hopefully have read the issue, Tantrum is a dual character where the large, bulk, strong character appears to be an adult, and then embedded in his chest is like a child whose emotions seem to dictate the creature's actions. And so in order to stop it, Malcolm crushes the baby's head and then electrocutes the giant to finish him off. I felt like Tantrum could have been a tragic character that was only behaving like it was because it couldn't control itself. Like it was literally a baby. And I thought that by casually killing it without really dwelling on it, it kind of cheapened the character. It could
Yeah,
have been
I felt the same way.
yeah.
Do you remember the adjective-less Spider-Man where Eric took over? I think it was issue 7. The first issue he did, where it was like Beast and Spider-Man
Yeah.
versus this giant mutant, and it turned out in the end that the mutant was just a baby. Like the mutant kind of shrunk, it went back to human form, and it was just an innocent baby. So all this time they're battling this like huge Hulk-like creature, and then it just turns into a baby at the end.
Right.
And it's funny because Eric's the one that wrote that issue, and that's reading this. That's the way I kind of took it. Like you just said, what if like that thing is really just an infant or a baby, and it's like
It's just innocent.
it seemed a little weird and out of character.
To be fair, I
just,
did
like,
feel
kill it.
bad for the character. Like when he killed the baby, and
Yeah.
it's like baby hurt. I was kind of like, oh man, it's
Yeah,
kinda...
I mean, we felt something, but it's like Captain Stewart didn't, Malcolm didn't. It's just like, I don't know, like it should have had more impact psychologically. I know there's not a lot of time in 20 pages, but you'd think if you're going to do something like that, you'd spend a little bit of time on it.
Yeah. That was a little weird for me too. I'm with you guys, although the first 4 pages were awesome, art-wise and everything. Just that full bleed double page spread. The one thing that gets me, it's like, all right, you're gonna do a flashback. It's a perfect opportunity to kind of showcase the old VC guys. I mean, how many more chances are you gonna have to like see, dead Vicious Circle guys in this book?
It would have been a nice little extra touch.
I don't know. I
would-
like these guys, these tentacle guys, a little bit more. I mean, they're kind of throwaway in this case, but visually, visually they're very interesting. And if we never see any of them again, that'd be kind of tragic. But I think seeing more of the old faces is something Eric wanted to get away from. So it makes sense. That
I just thought it would have been a good nod to like old time readers, while new time guys don't have new readers don't really have to worry about them too much. Because it's just a flashback.
Yeah,
But,
I
mean, it's a little gripe. I
don't really have a problem with that.
Didn't take away from my enjoyment, but it's always good to see some old faves, and just kind of throw a little bone to longtime readers. But hopefully we see these worm guys again.
Yeah,
It would be cool to see them like older.
Yeah. I enjoy seeing reoccurring characters. So.
Speaking of reoccurring characters, another thing that I think kind of bugged me about this was during the high school portion, we get introduced to 2 or 3 students,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's hard to tell if any of these characters are going to be recurring at all. Because of the way they're used, it almost feels like they could be disposable for information dumps, or maybe we'll see them again in some, more permanent capacity. But if that was the case, it feels like having like the 2 or 3 that Malcolm interacts with is too many, because then it feels like none of them are important.
I think we're definitely going to see that, was it Jasmine Thomas, the girl that was following him around?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she'll be back. Then
I'm not sure about the other guy. What was his name?
douchey
The dude with the dreads.
Lamar. Yeah, Lamar was cool. I like a jerk. I actually did want to give props on the comic for the way it had the high schooler dialogue, because kids say stupid stuff.
Kids say the darndest things.
So yeah, I really thought that was a good strong suit. So that was cool. I don't know.
I like how Malcolm is the opposite of what Spider-Man was. He's got no secret identity. He's popular. All the dudes want to be him. All the girls want to be with him. He doesn't have to hide what he does. And he kind of
It's supported by the
lives
police.
on his own. Yeah, he's a mercenary or whatever you want to call him, bounty hunter.
Yeah. It's a vague title.
But he's very similar. His book kind of like to Invincible or Spider-Man when it started off, except for I guess
He's public.
he's
He's out in the open. He's not a secret.
And I think it's much easier to identify with a character like that than a character that's got to hide his identity. You know what I mean? Yeah. You can treat him just as a regular guy. You can be in regular situations, and it's kind of neat.
I want to say that I hate to keep coming off as negative, but there was something else that bugged me, and it took me a while to figure out what it was. It's that Erik, in this bold new direction, has decided to continue with his strict grid layouts instead of like opening it back up to like full bleed panels and different panel compositions like in the old days. I felt this would have been a good opportunity to do that, to like change the layout style either back to what it used to be or do something a little bit different. It's just having this old, I guess I want to say old-fashioned strict grid, I honestly have always thought has kind of restricted the book a bit to how it's presented. And I was hoping that this would be an opportunity to get away from that, but apparently that won't be the case.
I'm a fan of the grid, and I think in this issue you almost kind of need this setup because there's such a large amount, there's such a big information dump.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot going on, and I don't want to see like 100 text bubbles on one splash page or in 2 panels. I'd rather see it spread along 6. And I think Erik, I'm a little bit of the opposite opinion. I kind of like him, and I think Erik does a good job of showing a lot happening on a little amount of space, and I kind of enjoy it.
I don't know. I think it did have more probably full bleed than we've seen in a bit.
Well, the double page spreads and the 2/3 page splashes they did. But
yeah, like that those first 4 pages felt like an old like pre-75 issue of Savage Dragon, didn't it? With that first page being like a full bleed.
Yeah, and the second page being double page spread, but even the 4th page goes to a strict grid.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I guess I mean, I hate to again harp on the way that it was handled, but I mean, technically I do love the fact that the book opened with like, Dragon being, buff and powered and kicking ass. And then it ends with Dragon being all weak and in prison and smaller than his son and stuff like that.
Right.
It's a really good hand the book off moment. But,
right.
Again, to just really think it needed that hook. I think it needed I don't know. That would have been great just to show like, maybe Dart. The last page be Dart, You could even lose a page of fight scene with Tantrum.
Right.
And just like,
or what? I think he should have expanded it to 22 pages at least for this jumping on issue, just to give it a little bit more room to breathe.
Yeah.
I do want to also say that the art I wish had been just a tiny bit tighter here and there. And I'm not even picking on the art. The art's for the most part really, really good.
Yeah.
But there's just a few visual oddities, I think mostly caused by Malcolm's agility. He leaps around a bit.
Yeah, you're talking about that scene where he's being followed by that girl.
Bingo. The one where that panel, just something about the visual information there, like the way Malcolm jumps back in front of her. I get it. He's a super agile character and he can leap around and, but the pose of what's going on, like it's
yeah, no one jumps backwards like that.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of confusing visually.
It looks like a forward jump. And then the way his hand's placed in that panel, it looks like he's holding her in her palm almost, like a weird kind of tangent thing going on.
Yeah, it even looks like she's like...
It's not quite a tangent, but it's like...
It's like she's behind him. It's like he's jumped like so far in front of her. See, I think it's supposed to look like he's like... his leg is like... He's like supposed to be like across her, like he's reaching out to block her path, but instead it looks like he's jumped past her.
Oh, is that what it is? I had to look at the scene. Like I had to read this page like 3 times before I understood what was going on, and I take it as she's running away, and he kind of jumps in front of, like over her head, in front of her. But it looks like he's jumping backwards, but it's a weird pose. I don't know. It just doesn't come off. It's one of the few times that I've seen this, Erik, some kind of pose not work for Erik, and fortunately, it's on this page, but I was a little kind of confused about what was going on.
But I will say a really good panel was 2 pages later, 4th panel, where he's jumping out the window.
Yeah, that was neat.
I did like that. I dig super agile Malcolm. I don't want that to go away. I just thought that one moment caused the visual confusion.
You think, like, because we never, Dragon, his dad, had his moments where he could leap around like that, but he didn't really do it as often as we're seeing it here. You think that has something to do with Malcolm being like a 15-year-old kid, that he's just kind of
jumping around because he can?
I actually remember, the scene it puts me in mind of is where it's very early in the series where Dragon, they're like, oh, there's hostages, and Dragon's like, hold on.
Oh, jumps through the roof?
Bingo.
Yeah.
And that's what him jumping around so much put me in mind of, and I really, really liked that as a longtime reader. I thought that was like a super cool way to show that, like, that's what young chosen ones do. They jump around.
Yeah.
Like, gravity doesn't really hold them back or whatever. So I'm totally down with that. That's what it made me think of.
The other thing, since we're talking about what Erik does best, which I thought was a little weird, was, all right, you want to showcase this issue as like, hey, this is what Savage Dragon is all about, So it was weird that he didn't put a cliffhanger, but I thought the other weird thing was that he didn't choose to have like a backup story.
Agreed.
That could have been a timing thing.
Yeah, but you know what? 193 is coming. You're going to push it as a jumping on thing for people. I mean, is it really that hard to like set aside a story, a backup, or get someone to do a backup or whatever? I don't know.
Even if it, timing. I think in fact, I think it was touched on. Maybe Adam Pruitt said that it was a timing thing. But
yeah, he did.
I will agree with you that had there been more comics. Again, not to dip too much into my new reader opinion, but one of the readers said that to me. He said he didn't give a crap about the pinups. And I asked him, I said, well, what if there were more comics? Because it usually has more comics in the back. And he's like, oh, well, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably talk about the guys guys got to read the book. What did they think?
Craig, you take it away.
All right. Well, I talked to one of my best friends, this guy Jason that I grew up with. He lives in Massachusetts, and he still collects some books. I don't get to talk to him very often now that I live in Philly. Once in a while we chat. So I asked him if he ever read any Dragon. He knows that I'm a big fan. And he knows about Dragon, has kind of a basic understanding, but he's never really tried it. So I sent him the issue to review. Before we started, I asked him to send me a list of what he was currently reading, so we have an idea of kind of what he's into. And what he's reading now is Invincible, Walking Dead, Daredevil, Nova, Powers, Ultimate Spider-Man, and he says he still buys Spawn, but he hasn't read it in years, and he still reads Usagi Yojimbo, but they haven't made a new one in years.
Well,
and he said, I don't know, I guess. But that's what he wrote. He said, I dumped DC entirely after the New 52. I was not a fan. And I had given him a set of Copra comics for Christmas, and he thought those were great. So
looks like the Target fan.
Sounds good, yeah. Superhero.
Yeah, I mean,
superhero knowledge.
He's open to everything. I know he was a DC fan until the New 52. Like I said, he buys a few Marvel, buys some Powers. He's things like Invincible I got him into, and he stuck with it. So anyway, I'm going to just kind of read almost verbatim what he said. He said, overall, I liked it. The story was simple. New kid at school on his own trying to make his own way. It did a fine job of introducing new supporting characters. It had a bit of an early Invincible feel. He said, it did, however, feel very brief. He goes to school, gets followed by a girl, beats up a bad guy. And he said, which was great. It was simultaneously funny, sad, and gross. And he talks to Dad. He said, I liked it. The art was great. The story was simple, but as a new reader, I did not find a compelling reason to tune in next week, which is like we were just talking about.
Right.
20 pages.
And then he brought up a really, really, really interesting point, which I would have never thought, because I'm such a fan of Savage Dragon, know Erik as a professional. But he put, also being new to the story but not coming to it from a complete vacuum, I'm a bit skeptical that Malcolm is here to stay. That he isn't just a kind of narrative way station, a respite in the beginning of the countdown to the eventual return of the proper dragon.
Ooh, okay.
And we kind of had a back and forth discussion. I asked him to explain a little more, and he said, comics seldom have long-term success replacing the main character. Wally West is an example of success. I think he was the Flash for almost as long as Barry Allen was. But he said, but for every Wally West, you have 4 different Supermen, or Bucky Barnes, Captain America, or Azrael, or Dick Grayson, Batman.
Well, even Wally West isn't Flash anymore.
Yeah, that's what's sad.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a real interesting point that I never thought about, is if someone sees this on the stands, is this just like, yeah, if I was just someone that collected Marvel or DC and knew nothing about Erik Larsen, I wouldn't really think of this as such a huge issue, because it'd probably be back to Savage Dragon in 6 months to a year anyway. Mm. I mean, I think we all know that it probably is Malcolm's book to stay, but I think for the average comic reader out there, that Marvel and DC has just kind of ruined it, where you just...
Well, even Peter Parker's coming back. I mean,
Yeah, you just see this and you're like, yeah, okay.
Wait, which Peter Parker?
Superior Spider-Man's gone.
Oh, that, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Ultimate, they were going to get rid of Miles or something.
Oh, no, just saying that, I mean, it's just agreeing that, this bold new direction is hitting in the same time as, Nightcrawler's coming back from the dead, Spider-Man's coming back. There's just all this,
So it kind of ruins it, It's like, well, if you think so having that perspective from my buddy who's, never really read Dragon, his mind's like, well, is this real, or, And if you remember back in the day, Erik kind of did this in a way. I mean, he didn't say Dragon was dead, but remember when Dragon left the book and She-Dragon took over the title, and the title actually changed to She-Dragon, and that lasted 6 issues, and then, Dragon was back in the book,
Right.
So I can see that point too. You might, a new reader might be a little bit hesitant, and it's not Erik's fault. I don't think
that's the industry's fault. That's the culture.
Sadly,
but it's unfortunately, I think people might think that.
Self-fulfilling
my buddy was saying. Yeah, and then he touched on that whole there's no hook to bring him back,
right.
Which we just talked about, and that's something even before he told me about that was something that I thought when I read the issue. There was no, as he put it, quote unquote, tune in next week.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you go.
So
you tell your friend to go buy 47 Ronin from Dark Horse if he needs his Stan Saki fix.
Yeah, right. That's what he's doing. Taking a break from rabbits to draw samurais.
So, Raven, what did
Well, I snagged...
Talk to a couple of people?
I snagged 2 opinions, actually. This is going to be much less in-depth than yours, because I just generally got, a verbal feel from them. Uh-huh. So I'm going to be paraphrasing, so it's not going to get too super in-depth. But I did, try to get people from different walks of, fandom. So the first person I got was actually my girlfriend. She knows about Savage Dragon. I mean, if you're around me, it's kind of hard not to, because I try to push it on people. Right. She also, gets to sit here and listen to the FINcast. So she's listening to it right now.
Oh,
as we discuss about this, but so she's unfortunately not coming to it at a complete vacuum, but at the same time, she's never actually picked up a Savage Dragon and read one even once, despite the fact that most of it's around, she can get it if she wants. Right. For free. So just, jump in the comic boxes and there it is.
I think doesn't Erik say his wife doesn't even read Savage Dragon though?
I think that's common. A lot Kirkman's wife doesn't care about Walking Dead.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he said that I thought that was true in the past and maybe had changed, but he was on Conan O'Brien and said the exact same thing. He said his wife does not care about comics. She does not care or pay attention to his writing.
Comic creators on late night TV. What a world we live in.
Beautiful, right? But no, so the thing is Stephanie is a comic. She reads some comics though. She has things she likes. She reads Walking Dead, and was reading it years and years and years before it ever even had a glint of hope of being a TV show. So
cool before it was cool.
Cool, exactly. We're zombie hipster on that. She does like just like different things. There's like some manga she likes, like Chew. She's correcting me. She's helping me out here. She likes Chew from Image. You guys know it's the guy that eats things and gets the impression off food.
They're doing a revival crossover, or isn't that?
She read Strangers in Paradise. So she tends Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. So she reads stuff.
So she's got good taste.
She doesn't read a lot of tights and fights. And so that's cool, because that was like, I definitely wanted the opinion of somebody. When she said she would like give me an opinion, I was super jazzed, because like this is the person I want to know, like, what does somebody who doesn't really read this kind of stuff think. For the most part, she kind of like was in line with what we've discussed already. She said that she felt that Malcolm himself wasn't particularly memorable or even likable. That he didn't really convey a lot of personality in these pages. She said that, she got that it was a high school superhero, and that, he was working with the cops. She thought that the baby was kind of weird. She was like, that's just a weird villain, for him to have like a guy with a baby in his chest. She didn't feel confused.
Seen nothing yet.
She didn't feel confused or anything by that'll come in with my second guy's opinion, but she didn't feel confused or anything by things that weren't explained. If you haven't and I don't think it had a place in this issue anyway, but like there's absolutely no explanation really for why Dragon is like depowered and in prison,
right?
Or who Lorella is or any of that stuff. Or repopulating the race, like that's all like really kind of weird stuff to just drop on a new reader. But she didn't really care about that. She just like rolled with the punches and assumed that would be stuff she'd get later if she stuck around with it.
Yeah, I think you're right. You could get heavy-handed to explain everything, and I think it's up to, if you liked what you read, you kind of go back and find out why they're talking about this.
Well, you'll see why I brought that up when I give you the second guy's opinion. You'll be like, what? But like, so she wasn't confused by things that weren't fully fleshed out. It's a first issue. She was down with all that stuff. She thought the visuals were a touch confusing. She mentioned the panel of Malcolm jumping backwards in front of the stalker chick as something she just couldn't figure out looking at. She just basically overall, like everyone I talked to said, there was no hook. So when it ended, she said that she didn't really feel like there would be a reason for her to like go out and buy it. But if it was around, she'd probably give it a try just to try it out. But again, that's kind of like, is that a comic buyer's opinion? Not quite, because I mean, it's going to be in the house anyway. Right. So trying is as hard as just picking it up. So while I'm like kind of like, it's cool that she did think that it was maybe worth giving a try again, she did say that it really isn't something she would probably like buy. So that's opinion number one. Opinion number two was from a coworker, and I don't know if he cares if I use his name, so I'm just going to call him Joe. But who knows? I don't know.
Joe.
I discussed it with him, and he didn't say don't use my name. But like, I'm just gonna be.
I don't want people to know I read this.
I am Joe.
We've protected Joe's identity. No, Joe basically he is kind of your typical like superhero kind of fan. He does read mainstream like Marvel, DC, stuff like that. He's super into all geek culture. Like Star Wars, Back to the Future, like buys Lego kits of like Back to the Future, and like this guy's like comic shop into it, right? Okay, his opinion was much more negative.
Oh, jeez.
Infinitely more negative. He hated everything about this issue.
Really?
Oh dear.
He hated the art from the cover which I gave him the McFarlane cover.
Uh-huh.
So he hated the cover. He hated the...
Why did you give him the McFarlane cover?
Because I want to keep the Larsen cover for me.
You know how like those you had to order like 5 issues to get the McFarlane cover.
Really?
Yeah,
I could get it.
those things are tough to come by.
Yeah, I can. He didn't like it, so I could get it back if he hasn't thrown it
You
away.
should get it back. I had to get mine on eBay because they
Are you serious?
because I'm a completist and Diamond didn't give my shop even though they ordered 5, something happened and they got shorted.
My comment guy said, "Do you want the McFarlane cover?" And I said, "Not if I have to pay extra or anything." And he said, "It's $1 more." And I was like, "Okay, I'll take it." I feel like a D-bag. Well, I'll get it back. I'll get it back.
Whatever, you're not contributing to the whole variant culture. You're just in it for good stories.
I got both covers.
The other guy, he hated everything. He was confused.
Bastard.
He was confused by everything. I know that you guys are going to laugh, right? You would think that when they say things like, "Do you have a date for homecoming? Are you going to try out for the football team or whatever?" But he didn't know if Malcolm was in high school or college.
Huh.
And because Malcolm lives alone, that's what threw him off.
Yep. That's a bit of a weird situation.
He said,
Uncommon.
He said he lives alone. He said, so, I mean, I didn't know. He said, was he in college or high school? And I was like, geez, I guess homecoming does apply to both. So does, he says he's a sophomore. I mean, they're eating in a cafeteria, but you also do that in college.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I didn't think of it because I just knew he was in high school. Stephanie wasn't confused by it, but, I mean, gotta be fair.
I can see that.
It doesn't say high school anywhere in the issue. I looked through.
Well, I mean, how many 14 or 15-year-olds live on their own? I mean, I know it is a comic.
That's kind of the weird bit, is he's living on his own, but he, is a superhero, but I don't know. That is kind of a conceit for the book.
Furthermore, my longtime superhero fan, he liked Tantrum. He loved the design, but he didn't so much. He was shocked that Tantrum got killed. He was kind of like also shocked that Malcolm seemed to show no real remorse or anything.
Mm-hmm.
He harped on the same panel that everybody's harped on at this point. So I'm not even going to bring it up. He harped on the fact that there was no cliffhanger. He said there was zero reason for him to come back. He said there was no memorable, no hint at, you know what? I know you're going to laugh, but again, we just got to think of these things. He was like, there's no real origin to it. He's like, why? Why is this guy strong? He's like, what? Why is he strong? Why is his dad strong? He's like, did his dad have to give him his powers? He's like,
yeah, with his penis.
That is the best line ever. That should be the tag for this FINcast. He got his powers from his dad's penis. No, but I mean, I know it seems crazy, but I mean, from the opinion of somebody who's never read any of this comic at all, these were genuine things he thought. So I have to be, and he's not, this is what's funny is this guy is not, he doesn't even know anything about Image. So you can't say he's bringing Image prejudice to the table.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what Image is. He likes Marvel and DC, and he's not read any Image. So it's not like he hates Image, and this is Image hate. This is just plain good old-fashioned first impression. So this guy was super not happy. He said there was no reason for him to read it again. He didn't care about the character or anything. He said he didn't give a crap about pinups. He would have cared if there was more comics. So, and I will just say from talking to him that perhaps if you are introducing new readers to this book for the first time, it is handy to mention that the book takes place in real time, because that's not actually in there anywhere. And I know there's no way for the characters to say that in a natural fashion.
Hey, I live in real time.
Yeah, I'm not like Superman who's never going to get old. I've grown up. But I mean, I guess at the beginning of the letters column, that would be the place to say it.
I don't know. They could have put during the flashback, like 5 years ago, or like put a date on it, and then that would have suggested that dates matter. Like date it, like 2003 maybe 4.
That actually might have been a good solution.
I guess.
I think that it was like kind of overcritical for him.
Well,
to
it
say.
sounds like he's overcritical a little bit, but I think he brings fair
confusion, at least.
Yeah, opinions and point of view and confusion that are legitimate.
I
can say I understand where he's coming from with not gelling to Erik's artwork as it currently is.
Yeah, he really did not. I mean, I'm being nice and leaving out, like, he just talked smack. He was not happy with the art at all.
Erik's current style is very loose, and I know a few fans would rather it be tighter, like it used to be. And I think that might be the hardest sell to new readers is Erik's current art style, because it's not like most comics.
Yeah, I mean,
I also wanted to say I wasn't super thrilled with the coloring this issue. I thought it was a little bit too dull. Nothing really popped, and we were really coming down hard on this book.
Yeah, but you know what I wanted to say? Like, I think, like I said in the beginning, like at first I had that reaction, and then I was like, well, it's aimed at newer people, and I know we had a few people that said, they didn't like it. I know my buddy said, for the most part, he thought it was a pretty good read. He just, wasn't sure about there not being any kind of hook at the end. But if you look online, there's at least 4 or 5 out of like the 6 or 7, say 4 out of 6 reviews that I've read that people really are amped about it, and it's pretty amazing. Like,
I know, it was so funny because I was expecting more positive feedback because the reviews were glowing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, what were the negative reviews?
It got a
what
lot
did
of
the
good
negative
reviews.
Say? A lot of the same thing?
I think some of the stuff that we said, yeah, but there was a bunch of them, people coming back to the book after being away for a while and saying, here's one of them, rhymes with geek. They said, overall, Savage Dragon is a comic that revels in the old school while still appealing to the new generation too. You're safe to come on board with Savage Dragon on this new era. At this point, I'm honestly unsure as to where this is going, but I'm willing to see what Savage Dragon is in store for me going forward. I've missed Savage Dragon more than I realized. I would give Savage Dragon a chance. Larsen overall did a good job making this readily accessible. And it seems to kind of echo a few. There was comicbastards.com had a good review. Fanboy Factor had a good review. There were a couple others.
It reviewed like crazy. I mean, I was like,
I saw a lot of positive reviews as well. But I think ultimately what you have to do here is take this issue and you got to compare it to miniseries issue number 1. And issue number 1 of the miniseries gave us basically an origin story. It gave us introduced the main villain group, and it ended on a cliffhanger. And it really roped you into coming back for issue number 2. And I feel that this issue isn't as strong as Savage Dragon miniseries number 1, and I think that is the problem.
That's where I ended up. I cooled my jets off my knee-jerk rage. Not rage, but like my knee-jerk opinion.
Rage.
Oh, damn
you, Larsen.
Why is this not perfect? No, I cooled my jets, but it was like, at the same time, I think you hit the nail on the head 100%. If you compare this to other number 1s, even from other Image titles, other number 1s, like, they're gonna end in a hook. They're gonna, I don't know.
I will say, I don't think Invincible number 1 ended on a hook. Invincible number...
I can't even remember.
Yeah, I vaguely remember. Basically, he busts up some bad guys, and then his dad shows up. Or maybe not. It just, I don't recall it ending on a hook. So I think it is possible. I believe it is possible to do a done-in-one story as an issue number 1, as an introduction.
Right.
I get what's funny is, like I said, I totally get what he did. He went for the passing of the guard. Like, instead of doing the hook, this was a handoff.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
but like you said, you could have had the last page, like, dart in the shadows watching Malcolm unpack boxes or something, something like, oh, like what's going to happen, or with her saying something like, now's my chance, or, something, I don't know. Like,
I think
something
to
so
kill you
corny, but,
or something like that. Yeah.
You gotta wonder if Dart even
like,
gives a shit about Malcolm.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, just something to pull you in, like some villain, like you said, showing up in the last panel.
Like Tantrum. Maybe Tantrum is that Skull Guy's agent or something, and like you see him as setting up whatever he does next or something. Or I don't know. But yeah, I think that's what ultimately this issue is lacking is a legitimate hook to rope in the new readers.
If I had to strip away everything else, I would even say that everything else is totally forgivable. Like even like occasional wonkiness of art, like pacing, all that's forgivable. But I kind of just can't get away from is I just think it needed a hook just to make people want to step in for that next issue.
The thing I'm a little bit like about is I wanted this to be the issue that I could hand out.
Yeah.
Be like, you new to Dragon? You want to try Dragon? Try this issue.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to give this issue out as the one to try. I think there's going to be there's other issues. Like, even though it's not as clean a jumping on point, if I want to wow somebody about Savage Dragon, for me, this wasn't it. But
it lacked a wow factor too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I remember, like, issue ones of other series, like, I hope you're going to just laugh. I don't know. Some people love it, some people hated it. But, like, issue 1 of Wanted. Like, I gave that to some of my buddies, and they were hooked. They couldn't wait.
Yeah.
This doesn't have a wow factor.
Oh, well.
Well,
we got to be honest here.
Yeah.
If we just kissed his butt on everything, this wouldn't be an interesting podcast. So
this is probably the worst reviewed issue since Jets killed God.
Yeah. Man, that was an issue.
Well, and it's a heartbreaker too, because like I said, this is the issue that you want to be one of the best because you want to hook someone on this. And I think I don't want to pan this book, and it's not. I think it's more of this is a average, not an average, but not a superior kind of Savage Dragon book. But it's not completely awful.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I'm saying? It's just,
but
as
fans, we like what it presented because we like Malcolm already. We're already into him.
Right.
So we appreciate it. But the problem is we don't see it having larger appeal, which is what we want.
I think if this wasn't kind of promoted as, the first new issue in a bold new direction and really the passing of the torch to Malcolm, that this reaction wouldn't be as negative.
Yeah, it's got a lot of weight to carry, and that definitely is like the opinion. I mean, that's definitely what's swaying our opinions anyway, like in the way they are, is if this wasn't, if this didn't carry the burden of supposing to be your great jump on point. Like you said, you give it to a new buddy and go, here you go, check it out.
Yeah.
But it does. So the question remains, the thing is that like it could still easily, Invincible puttered along until Omni-Man's big twist.
Yeah, that's true. It started out pretty middling, average superhero teenager story.
I didn't try it. I wasn't on board with it right off the bat.
I was on board only because I read Tech Jacket and I knew Kirkman could write superheroes well.
Yeah, it was the same way.
Once I heard about the twist, which I hate to have it like ruined for me, but like the twist brought me on. So
yeah, the twist was definitely a changing point in that series. I'll give you that. It definitely made it more about what it really is about.
I know that.
Well,
I'll just like I guess I'm sorry. I'll just end it and say that like this book could sell itself if it was ham-fisted a bit. Because when I told my new guy, Joe, when I told Joe about the real-time comic progression, he thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
he was like, "Oh man, that is cool." So don't be afraid to mention that. Mention that in the letters column or the press release or something.
Well, the cool thing is this is issue 193, and we're getting really close to 200. So I'm hoping Erik has something really cool planned for 200 that's building up to that. That when we get to that, you can say, well, look back and be like, wow, that was an amazing arc between 93 and 200. Malcolm's first like big arc or whatever it is, or for second arc or whatever. But it's pretty exciting that 200 is like right around the corner.
Yep, it's gonna be an interesting year because 200 hopefully will be out by December. Hopefully we'll make it that far.
7 issues,
right.
I'll say yes.
So
yeah, I think he's been averaging like 9 issues a year or something.
Yeah. So it's likely we'll see it this year. So this year, this first Malcolm arc in issue 200 is going to be a very interesting year to follow.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I'm looking forward to it. I feel bad. This episode seems like a downer, but again,
we got to be honest. We got to be
it did have some
down.
good. Yeah, we had to be honest, but the issue did have some good parts to it, and
oh yeah.
Why don't we talk about what's coming up on Savage Dragon 194?
Well, Savage Dragon, the next generation. Malcolm Dragon has big shoes to fill. His father saved the world on a few occasions and kept Chicago's notorious criminal organization, the Vicious Circle, at bay for decades. Can the younger dragon hope to live up to the legacy of his famous father? Not if the new nemesis, Torment, has anything to say about it. With a benevolent voice in one ear and a sadistic one in the other, he may just be the most conflicted killer of them all. And Malcolm, I always said Savage, and Malcolm Dragon is the only one standing in the path of this fearsome new foe. Dun-dun-dun.
That'll be an interesting issue. That's the one with the cover with the guy with the 2 faces for horns.
He has a great visual.
Yes.
Yeah, jumping around the building tops.
He's like, I can't remember the cover exactly, but he's smashing Malcolm into one, right?
I think
like
so.
He's using him for like a club.
If you end on a positive, if you want to end on a positive note, I mean, it's real easy. We know this book has all kinds of awesome stuff in store for people who stick around.
Amen.
And I mean, there's just the Brenda Funk thing, the guy that gives people powers who looks like Shao Kahn from Mortal Kombat. There's
Dart.
just Dart, good Lord, Dart. There's the whole thing with all the heroes leaving Chicago and forming an SOS in DC. I mean, there's just tons. And there's the new Vicious Circle. Remember the young kids? They're out there somewhere.
Yep. There's Vanguard and his Guardian of the Galaxy version floating around in space.
Yeah, so there's just a butt ton of amazing things that are out there. And it can swing around and be awesome so quick. And for the most part, it seems like everybody pretty much dug it. I mean, if you believe reviews.
Yeah, and I don't think people will go out of their way to write about Savage Dragon if they didn't really believe what they were writing. It's not like it's, I don't know, Superior Spider-Man or something like that. It's like, you're not going to really write about Savage Dragon unless you really want to talk about it. So I believe what those guys are saying in their reviews. So, I think we're a little down on it. But it gives me hope to read reviews where people are like really excited to come back to Savage Dragon. So,
and in addition, I mean, it's just a matter of like, you're just not going to please everybody. I mean, The reviewers clearly like dug it and loved it. And, we didn't all out hate it. The only reason we're holding it to high standards is because, I mean, hell, we know what the book can do.
We can do.
So this book can do amazing, amazing things. This was not, it's the usual like performance, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It just wasn't what it needed to be.
Very cool. Well, I think that does it for another FINcast episode.
Yep.
See you next time.
See ya.
See you later.
The Savage FINcast is hosted by the Gutter Trash Podcast Network, which can be found at guttertrash.net. The Savage FINcast is proud to be members of the Comic Addiction family of podcasts and the Comics Podcast Network, which can be found at comicaddiction.net and comicspodcast.com. Bye.